Nepal's marginalized groups, Madisas, Dalits, indigenous peoples, and women, historically lacked equal footing in state institutions, fueling a deep social divide and decades of resistance. To address these systemic grievances, the 2007 interim constitution and the subsequent 2015 constitution required proportional representation across all government bodies. This mandate directly targeted the recruitment process of the Nepal police. The explicit goal was to ensure the nation's 24/7 public security force accurately reflected the population it was policing. The Civil Service Act sets 55% of vacancies for open competition and 45% for marginalized candidates. This reserved slice is subdivided into specific quotas: 33% women, 27% indigenous nationalities, 22% Madisas, 9% Dalits, and the remainder for other groups. Writing a quota into law provides a target. Reaching that target depends entirely on the specific administrative mechanics used to hire people. Between 2009 and 2014, the Nepal police ran 3 separate recruitment cycles for police inspectors. This timeline serves as a natural experiment in candidate sorting. In public administration, a sorting algorithm is the step-by-step sequence used to evaluate applicants, calculate their scores, and assign them to open seats. From the 2009 cycle to the 2013 cycle, applicant interest from marginalized groups surged, yet the actual number of minority candidates who successfully secured a badge dropped steeply. How does a legally mandated quota system fail to hire enough minority candidates when there is an abundance of willing applicants? A quota guarantees nothing. It can be mathematically sabotaged by the very procedure meant to execute it. The sequence in which test results are announced holds total power over who gets the job. Procedure dictates policy. The 2009 recruitment drive serves as our first test case, operating under the spillover model. In 2009, reserved candidates were 30% of applicants, but secured 44% of appointments. The spillover algorithm allowed them to compete simultaneously for open seats. Conversely, if a quota had a shortfall, open applicants filled the gap. In fact, highly competitive minority candidates successfully passed the thresholds for both open and reservation quotas. By integrating minority candidates dynamically, the 2009 model met its quotas without leaving any empty seats. 4 years later, the 2013 cycle operated under different rules, resulting in a complete systemic failure. The applicant pool from reservation groups increased to nearly 38%. However, out of 62 advertised reserved seats, only 32 were actually filled. This drop was driven by a procedural change. Test results were published sequentially, first open, then reserved. The highest scoring marginalized candidates were immediately selected to fill the open category seats. This created a massive drain effect. The algorithm actively stripped the reserved applicant pool of its highest scoring individuals, siphoning them off before quotas were calculated. For the reserved quotas, the candidate pool was now hollowed out. The individuals left over often failed to meet the absolute minimum pass threshold for the written exam, causing them to be rejected entirely. The remaining seats were still legally protected for marginalized groups, but the talent required to fill them had already been absorbed elsewhere by the system. A sequential algorithm turns the open category into a vacuum, mathematically dismantling the exact affirmative action policy it is trying to enforce. The Nepal police identified this fatal flaw and corrected it in the 2014 recruitment cycle. Interestingly, the 2014 cycle saw the lowest proportion of minority applicants of the study period, at under 29%. These datasets directly confront the argument that reservation systems inherently compromise organizational quality by lowering standards. In 2009, minority candidates systematically outcompeted general applicants for non-reserved seats. A highly qualified talent pool exists within these communities, provided the system is built to accurately capture it. There is a severe long-term risk to failing like the system did in 2013. If applicants perceive the administrative process as mathematically rigged against them, future participation will drop, completely undermining diversity efforts. It is important to note that while the Nepal police optimize their process to achieve descriptive representation, hiring the right demographics, they still lack a system to evaluate the actual field performance of these recruits over time to prove transformative participation. Setting a constitutional quota is an act of political will. Enacting it requires rigorous administrative engineering. To build an inclusive state, you must